courage, I think, on their part.
But the same cannot be said, it would appear, from staff members of the former vice president's office. And I wonder if you can confirm that the sort of spirit of the Axios reporting that the vice president's former staff have been helpful.
You know, I can't confirm as to any particular individuals, but I can tell you we've been getting a lot of cooperation. You know, most of the people that we've reached out to, and a great many that have reached out to us, are volunteering to come forward. They're not requiring subpoenas. They're certainly not fighting subpoenas. And, you know, for those few who are, those high-profile few who are, you know, resisting and potentially going to jail, like Steve Bannon, and we hope there's an indictment coming out of justice on Mark Meadows, we are looking for other ways to get the information. Now, some of that information you can't get in other ways. No one knows better than Mike Pence the kind of coercion campaign against Mike Pence, the kind of effort to get him to violate his constitutional duty. So I do view him as an indispensable person to talk to. And, you know, we haven't sent out a formal invitation yet because we realize that if we do have the opportunity, I think, to interview him, we'll get one shot at it. We want to make sure we have all the information that we want to ask him about before we do. But we are certainly getting a lot of cooperation from people that were in the White House and in the know.
If you could just characterize the picture, is it piecing together more dots of a picture that you all think you understand? Is it corroborating witnesses to things you've heard from folks like Mark Short and others who have not had high-profile fights and showdowns with the committee? As you said, there are only two who are in that category. Can you characterize what the investigative work is at this point, or is it still simply following new leads that come up in the interviews?
You know, I would say, honestly, it's really all of the things you mentioned. We are getting a picture of the multiple lines of effort to overturn the election. And for me, one of the big takeaways thus far has been that it's not just about January 6th. A lot of those efforts took place well before the 6th. Some carried on after the 6th. Some involved abuse of the Justice Department. Others involved efforts to coerce elections officials into violating the law potentially. And so we are learning a great deal about those multiple lines of effort. We are still, you know, there are still missing pieces. And we're still very much open to the idea that there may be big things that we don't know about yet. But we are filling in the timeline. We are developing a comprehensive understanding of who is involved in what. And while we still have a lot of work to do, I think we've gotten a lot of work done so far.
Can you talk about what point in your work a criminal referral to the Justice Department would come?
You know, it really depends, I guess, on the kind of referral. Clearly, we are open to making referrals on an ongoing basis for people who refuse to show up when they're subpoenaed. Or if we have someone come in and testify and we think they lied to us, we will make a referral as soon as we feel confident that there's sufficient evidence to do so. With respect to other, even more serious charges, such as the one that Liz Cheney was describing, I think we're going to want to see the full picture, as full a picture as we can get, and decide whether we think that the criminal referral is warranted. But I do want to emphasize one fundamental point, which is the Justice Department should not be waiting for us. They better not be waiting for us. And in my experience, after having served in the Justice Department and having worked on congressional investigations while the Justice Department was doing their investigations, they don't wait for us. They often ask us to wait for them. So, you know, they should be looking at things, in my view, like Georgia. They shouldn't leave to the Fulton County DA's office whether there was, you know, federal laws violated when the former president was trying to get Brad Raffensperger to find 11,780 votes that don't exist.
We know that the committee has used the investigative tool of phone records requests from some of the objections of lawyers who allegedly say their clients have had their records requested. Is it fair to assume that if George Terwilliger were representing Mark Meadows in a criminal investigation and DOJ were looking at his records, we would know about that. I mean, is it a fair assumption to say that if Mark Meadows were under investigation for sitting on the Raffensperger call, we would likely know about that?
Well, I don't think I can say with absolute certainty. You shouldn't be hearing about it from the Justice Department. So, when I listened to Merrick Garland, my first impression was, God, it's great to have someone of integrity running the department again. I was concerned not to hear mention of the possibility of criminal activity not related to the actual day of the 6th. I think that was a mission that does concern me. But it could very well be that the Justice Department of Georgia is going on, and the grand jury is just being really secret about it. But the lawyers representing the witnesses and the witnesses themselves don't have to remain confidential about it. And generally, they have released information to the press when they're entitled to do so. So I'm a bit skeptical that the silence is just owing to really good Justice Department adherence to policy.
Sean Hannity has been asked to spend some time voluntarily with the committee, not as a member of the press who covered Donald Trump and seemed to have advised him, but as a fact witness. Is there any update on his interest in doing so from his lawyer, Jay Sekulow?
I don't have any update on that. Clearly, he has relevant information he could share with the committee that would help us fill out some of those missing pieces. He was, I think, on the basis of the text messages, very concerned with what was going to happen within the 48 hours before, he expressed that concern before January 6th, the day before. He also expressed concern, I think, about White House counsel resigning as a result of the pressure campaign on Pence. At least that's how I read his text messages potentially, but it would be more important to get his reading than mine. So we hope that he'll be willing to share that information. We made it abundantly clear we're not interested in his political views or what he does on his show. We're interested in, his role as an advisor to the president, as a confidant to the president, as someone who campaigned for the president. Those are not journalistic roles.